What's up, y'all? This will be a short video, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it will be, but I just wanted to share this moment that I am being present to here in Aotearoa. And I want to talk about the importance of the imperfect effort, right? Like the necessity of the imperfect effort. Yesterday, the New Zealand government and the head of the New Zealand government, Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, apologized to the Pasifika community. That would be Samoans, Tongans, Fijians, Islanders, Pacific Islanders, who were the targets of what is known as the Dawn Raids in the 1970s to the 80s, which was basically when the New Zealand government targeted those communities for overstaying their visas and violently removed them, like stopped school buses and took kids off of school buses, raided people's houses in the middle of the night at dawn, which is why they're called the Dawn Raids, and forcibly removed people, forcibly deported people. These are people that they invited to come here to work. And then when the economy took a downturn, they, although being, the smallest percentage of people overstaying their visas, they were the ones targeted. Of course, the majority of people overstaying their visas were from Australia, Great Britain, and South Africa. The majority of people were white. And so, needless to say, it was government, state-sanctioned, racist, terrorism on the lives of these folks. And yesterday, the government, in June, the government, in April, the Pasifika community put out calls for an apology, a formal apology. In June, the government agreed to a formal apology. And yesterday, the Prime Minister, and I'll show a picture of this, really watching it on Instagram, is Ifogoa, or Ifoga, and my hunch is I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but it is a traditional apology in Samoan culture, where the Prime Minister is covered in a mat, which is a cultural protocol of apologies. She's literally covered up. Her head is covered up. And basically the presentation, from what I'm gathering, is that you are rendered, helpless, and that if you are not harmed, you are forgiven. And there is, I saw it and I couldn't, in some ways it's so hard to conceive, imagine any U.S. president, anyone, pick any of them, presenting themselves to a community in that community's cultural practice of apology. And I can't conceive it, right? Like it's so outside of the realm of anything. And this was just, 40 years ago, right? These apologies are for something that happened 40 years ago. Relatively recently enough for you to be like, whatever. Usually governments apologize, 700 years later. But the idea that, and there are lots of questions, like, does this come with, permanent visas for the people who were targeted and that, like, there are questions about what material things come along with this. There are questions about, what usefulness this is. There are questions about whether or not this is, just for white appeasement. They're good questions. And I don't think those questions are inappropriate. I think it is fine to continue to interrogate the motivations behind systems, right? And the why of those systems. But I also want to acknowledge on the part of the government that the imperfect effort is important, that it heals something, that it offers something to the people who are impacted by the atrocities. And so if there's an opportunity for you to put forth an imperfect efforting toward writing something, don't wait for it's not going to be perfect, or they're still going to have a problem with it, or whatever that story is. Kill that story. Your imperfect effort is transformative.